Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today we will address some of the very crucial questions that have come from you guys. When humanity started on planet Earth, where was their first settlement? What probably might have been their first language? Which area was their first geographical pick? And why? How did they spread? And many other questions to follow that. So we will be bringing to you evidences from Quran, from Hadith, from several books of historians written by Muslims and non-Muslims. So let me be clear on one thing. Muslims do not believe that humans have come from ape. For those people who are not Muslims and are watching this channel. Muslims believe that we are the children of Adam and Eve, in Arabic Adam and Hawa, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created both of them in the heavens. And then they were ordered to be descended down to the planet Earth. None of them sinned. So there is no concept of original sin in Islam. Rather, they were overwhelmed with love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They wanted to stay in His presence forever. And Shaitan used 6 different tactics to convince them that eat from the tree and that is a wise decision. Once you eat from it, you will stay in Jannah forever in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Would you not love it? And they both fell for it and ate from it, and then they were asked to leave the Jannah. And they were descended down. Ihbitu, leave and descend down. But Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam, they were both regretful for their action. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught them a dua. And they used to say this dua. We don't know for how many years when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's accepted their plea. That رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. When they were descended down to the planet Earth, they both did not descend to the same geographic location. Rather, Adam alayhi salam had to go and search for Hawa alayhi salam. And that's exactly where our journey begins. So let me be clear about that. Our consensus here, we'll start with that, is it was the Arabian Peninsula which was the first settlement for the human beings. And Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam started their family in Arabia. That's another thing, that there are several evidences that Adam alayhi salam descended in what we call the Indian region or Indian subcontinent, and he traveled all the way till Arabia. And it was Hawa alayhi salam, and she was in Arabia, and they both met over here. So Adam alayhi salam, the first human being, it was this Arabian Peninsula that was his place of dwelling, and that was his place where he was buried. And his place of dwelling, as mentioned by Abu Hanifa Ahmad bin Dawood, you know him by the name of Allama ad-Dinuri, and he wrote a very famous book, Al-Akhbar al-Tawal, and that in volume, on page number 1, he talks about this particular thing. And as about his burial happening in Arabian Peninsula, that is mentioned by Al-Isfahani, whose name is Abu Hamid Muhammad bin Muhammad Al-Isfahani. He wrote it in Al-Bustan Al-Jami' li Jami' Tawarikh Ahl al-Zaman on page number 57. Now let's take it forward. So, originally, this land, even at that time it was not called Arabia, but it wouldn't be wrong to call it Arab even in that time. As mentioned by Abu Abdullah Muhammad bin Abdullah al-Hakim al-Nisaburi in Al-Mustadrak ala Sahihain. You know him by the name of Imam Hakim. but I'm giving you his full name and the book, Al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain, under hadith number 6999 on page number 97. And this region is where Arabic language was spoken, and that was the first language to be spoken. And this language being spoken over here is mentioned by Abu al-Qasim Ali bin al-Hasan, who is known as by the name of Ibn Asakir al-Damashqi in Tarikh Damashq in volume number 4, page number 406. Well, the first people to call this Arabian Peninsula or Arabia were Samis, the Semites, the children of Sam, the son of Nuh, when they started dwelling in this region and started spreading in this region. So that's why a lot of the Semitic people or the Semites are from this region. As mentioned by Abu Abdullah Yaqut bin Abdullah al-Hamawi, who is the author of Mu'jam al-Buldan, and he mentions that in volume number 4, page number 96. So, even before the existence of Samis or the Semites, this region had people. People used to live here. People used to speak a language. It has culture. It has customs. So, they probably spoke a language. And it wouldn't be wrong to say that they spoke Arabic as a language, as mentioned by Tim McIntosh Smith in the book that he wrote in the year 2019 called Arabs, and it's published by Yale University Press on page number 19. Now let's move forward from here to our next topic, or next point rather, that since Semites came up with this name of Arabian Peninsula, and it was started getting used in that term, but that doesn't mean this region was non-existent prior to that. As mentioned by Abu Abdullah Yaqut bin Abdullah al-Hamawi in Mu'jam al-Buldan, volume number 4, page number 96. However, if you look at it from the linguistic perspective, we do not have any concrete evidence as to before the coming of Nuh alayhi salam, what exactly was in Arabia in terms of people, their language, their artifacts, anything, any kind of evidences, because we don't know yet. We have not explored that yet. However, that's a historical consensus that I have made to you with these references from different books. So, just like there were different parts of the world that were getting populated by people, the Semites chose to live in this region. And initially, if you go to the times of Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam, they chose this region, and this is exactly where they wanted to start their family. And this Arabian Peninsula region is also mentioned in the book Sealed Nectar or Al-Rahiq al-Makhtum on page number 21. Well, Adam alayhi salam was looking for Hawa alayhi salam, as they were not together when they were sent down on the earth, and he found her in the place called Arafah, which is named after that the place where the two found each other and recognized each other, as mentioned by Abu al-Tayyib Muhammad bin Ahmad bin Ali al-Fasi in the book Shifa al-Gharam bi Akhbar al-Bald, Shifa al-Gharam bi Akhbar al-Bald al-Haram, in volume number 1, page number 413. So after that, Adam alayhi salam reconstructed or rebuild the Kaaba where it exists right now in Makkah al-Mu'azzamah. And this was the very first house, as mentioned in the Quran in Surah Ali Imran, ayah number 96, that it was the very, very first house. And also we find some of that detail by Imam al-Azraqi, whose name is Abu al-Walid Muhammad bin Abdullah bin al-Azraqi, in his famous work Akhbar Makkah in volume number 1, page number 36. So Adam alayhi salam, let's look into some logical explanations too and then we will understand them in the light of hadith. That Adam alayhi salam and his children must have had several needs to exist on this Arabian Peninsula. And looking around in the Arabian Peninsula, we find nothing but desert. We find no signs of existence of life in terms of agriculture, in terms of vegetation, in terms of fruits, things that would be commonly available for people to survive. So why in the world will they settle here? And what did they used to do for making their living? Well, let me prove it to you that the Arabia that you are seeing like this, it was not like this. Rather, Arabia was filled with lush green meadows and springs of water running across. And this is proven to us by the hadith mentioned in Sahih Muslim. And this is Imam Sahih Muslim, Al-Qushayri in Sahih Muslim, Hadith 157 on page number 408, brings this hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا تقوم الساعة, Qiyamah will not come hatta, until and unless there will going to be extensive يكثر المال, there will going to be lot of wealth. Such an extent that حتى يخرج الرجل, that a man will exit his house and will go around, roam around looking for people who will take zakat from him, but nobody will take zakat from him because nobody will need zakat. Nobody will fall in that bracket that will be a person who will take the zakah. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, and then Qiyamah will not happen حتى وحتى تعود, until the تعود أرض, that until it returns to what? أرض العرب. What will return to the أرض العرب? That it will once again be lush green meadows وأنهارا, and will be streams of water running everywhere. So the Arabian Peninsula will once again turn into this kind of a state where there's going to be lush green meadows and water running around in the form of stream. That means there was time when Arabia was not a desert. There was a time when Arabia had lush green meadows and springs running across, and it was a very, very beautiful place to have a settlement. And also, according to the geologists who study the earth, they are of the viewpoint that Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula land itself, it came habitable. It got to a point where it was habitable around 25 million years ago. As mentioned in the book by R.W. Powers, The Geology of the Arabian Peninsula, Sedimentary Geology of Saudi Arabia, U.S. Geological Survey Professional Paper 560D, United States Government Printing Office, Washington, page number 101 and 102. So, some geological changes had taken place over the period of time, but prior to that, the Arabia was lush green. It had meadows and it has abundant water sources. As also, you will find that in H.C. Armstrong's book that was written in 1998 called Lord of Arabia, printed by St. Paul's Press, Beirut, Lebanon, and this is on page number 212. So Arabia was not the way it is now. At the time of Nuh alayhi salam, Arabian Peninsula had then turned into a desert, into a land which didn't grow much vegetations. That is why when after Nuh alayhi salam, the Semites started spreading in the Arabian Peninsula because of the geological changes they noticed in this place, they found that there is very hard life in this peninsula, so they have called it Arab. They named it Arab. So that probably is much later. And then we also find it in the Quran that Nuh alayhi salam had 3 sons that survived, that were with him on that ship. And one son died who didn't came on that ship. So we have the details of that as mentioned in several different places in the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved one of his sons, didn't save one of his sons because he refused to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the story comes in Surah Hud, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that when وَهِيَ تَجْرِي بِهِمْ فِي مَوْجٍ كَالْجِبَالِ, and then there was a massive tide that came between Nuh alayhi salam and his son. وَنَادَى نُوحُ ابْنَهُ, and the Nuh alayhi salam called upon his son while he was riding the ship, and and the son was not riding the ship, that إِرْكَمْ مَعَنَا, come on board. And the son said, no, سآوي إلى جبل, I will climb the mountain, يعصمني من الماء, it will save me from the flood. And the Nuh alayhi salam said, لا عاصم اليوم, there is nobody to protect you من أمر الله, from the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إلا من رحم, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful on that individual. وَحَالَ بَيْنَهُمَا الْمَوْجِ, and the massive tide came between the two of them. And then when the tide settled, فَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُغْرَقِينَ, the son was among those people who drowned in the waters. So that son died, and his name was Kin'an, as mentioned in several sources, like Abu Abdullah Muhammad bin Sa'ad al-Basri mentions it as Tabqat al-Kubra, volume number 1, page number 35. وَكِنْعَانَ وَهُوَ الَّذِي, this is the one who was the one who got gharq, and Arab called him Yam. And then after that thing settled down, then Nuh alayhi salam and his sons and whoever was on the ship, they came out of the ship, but the human race, as we see it today, they are all descendants of Nuh alayhi salam, as everybody else who were with Nuh alayhi salam, other than his sons, they passed away over the period of time without giving any offsprings that lived to spread their lineage. It was only the children of Nuh alayhi salam, the Ham, Sam, and Yafith, whose descendants are right now spread all over the earth. Now, this is also mentioned by Abu Muhammad al-Husayn bin Mas'ud al-Baghwi in Tafsir al-Baghwi, volume number 7, page number 43. And this is in the light of the Surah As-Saffat. And this is mentioned in ayah number 77 of the surah number 37, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُ هُمُ الْبَاقِينَ, and it was only the offsprings of Nuh alayhi salam that were the one that got sustained. The entire humanity was spread through these offsprings alone. So that's the consensus. That's why Nuh alayhi salam is also called the second Adam, Adam al-Thani, or Abu al-Bashar al-Thani. And Nuh alayhi salam and his offsprings were the one that took different parts and regions of the world, and they spread, and then they were the one who were then divided into different tribes and different nations. And some of this detail comes in different books like Jami' al-Tirmizi, Hadith 3230. Also in Tarikh al-Mas'udi by Abu al-Hasan Ali bin Hussein bin Ali al-Mas'udi on page number 59. Also Hafil ibn Kasir, whose name is Ismail, the son of Umar, and he wrote it in Tafsir ibn Kathir, volume number 5, page number 175. So the region of Arabia, which was at some point in time lush green, became barren as it is now, but it will turn into lush green meadows again. And then there came the second phase of Arabs after the Semites started moving into Arabian Peninsula. If you're interested, let me know. We'll talk about it inshallah next time. Till then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.